The boardroom erupted in laughter when the new intern walked in, a young black woman with a notebook, nervous smile, and quiet eyes that studied everything. No one knew her last name, and that was the point. She was there to learn, not to be noticed. But under that modest exterior hid the daughter of the company's founder, a CEO who had built an empire from nothing. What she was about to uncover would shake the entire corporation to its core. From racist jokes to denied promotions, she would soon realize that the same company that praised diversity in headlines was rotten from the inside. And when the truth came out, there would be nowhere left for the corrupt to hide. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Ava Richardson had grown up watching her father, Thomas Richardson, fight to prove himself in a world that doubted him at every turn. A black man who'd built one of America's top logistics firms, he had clawed his way up from a one-room office to a global corporation with thousands of employees. But as success grew, so did complacency. And behind the glossy press releases, a new generation of executives began to forget the values that had built the company. When Thomas suffered a stroke, Ava returned home from graduate school at Oxford to help. But her father, ever the fighter, made one final request. Find out what they've turned my company into. Not as my daughter, as one of them. And so, she joined under an alias, Ava Jones, unpaid intern. No one recognized her. No one suspected. She was placed in the operations department, the heart of the company. What she would witness over the next few weeks would change not only her father's legacy, but the future of everyone working there. On her first day, Ava watched how people treated her, the subtle glances, the half smiles, the condescension masked as mentorship. "You're lucky to be here," one manager said, tossing a stack of files onto her desk. "Most interns don't last long." He didn't mean the workload, he meant her. As days turned into weeks, Ava saw patterns. Black employees were often assigned lower roles and had their ideas dismissed in meetings. A senior analyst named Marcus had trained 3 white colleagues, all of whom were promoted before him. When he spoke up, HR brushed it off as a misunderstanding. The so-called diversity committee existed only on paper. The head of HR joked during lunch that inclusivity means smiling at everyone equally, and people laughed. Ava kept notes, quietly, meticulously, recording names, incidents, and company records that didn't add up. One afternoon, she overheard 2 executives joking in the break room. "The CEO's been too soft since his stroke," one said. "If his daughter ever takes over, we'll have to train her right." They laughed, unaware she was standing outside the door. Her blood ran cold, not from fear, but from fury. By week 4, Ava had found something darker. A falsified report. Several minority employees had been terminated under the guise of performance issues that didn't appear in their actual records. Instead, their supervisors had manipulated reviews to protect their own friends. She realized this wasn't just racism, it was systemic abuse hidden under corporate polish. That night, Ava sat alone in her apartment, her father's old quote echoing in her head. Power reveals character. The next morning, she made a decision. She wasn't just going to expose them. She was going to confront them, one by one. 2 weeks later, the company held its annual executive review meeting. Ava was asked to help with logistics, setting up the projector, preparing coffee, and arranging documents. She moved silently between the tables, listening as department heads bragged about record efficiency and team cohesion. When the CEO entered, her father, thinner but standing tall, the room fell silent. His recovery was still ongoing, and most had assumed he was too weak to return. But beside him stood a woman they barely recognized at first, no longer in her intern badge, but in a tailored black suit, holding a folder marked Confidential. Thomas sat down. Ava stepped forward. "Before we begin," she said calmly, "there are some internal matters we need to discuss." The head of HR frowned. "Who authorized this presentation?" "My father," she said evenly. "And now, as acting director, I'm continuing it." One by one, she laid out the evidence on the table. Screenshots of falsified reports, recorded comments, and employee testimonies. Faces paled. Whispers filled the room. When one executive tried to interrupt, she met his gaze. "Would you like me to play the recording of you calling Marcus a diversity token?" "Because I will." No one spoke again. When she was done, she turned to her father. "These are the people you trusted," she said softly. "They built an empire on your name, but forgot your values." Thomas's voice was weak but steady. "Then it's time they're reminded who this company belongs to." That afternoon, the boardroom doors closed. By evening, half the management team was dismissed. HR was replaced. An independent audit was launched. And Ava, the quiet intern, was officially appointed as interim CEO. Her first action was not vengeance, but reform. She reinstated every wrongfully terminated employee and launched a mentorship program for underrepresented workers. The walls that once echoed with silence now hummed with change. But it wasn't easy. The media caught wind of the shakeup and called her the undercover heiress. Critics said she was too young. Others whispered that she was making everything about race. Ava ignored it all, because she knew this was never about headlines. It was about justice. Months later, the company had record growth, not just in profit, but in trust. The same managers who once mocked her name now cited her leadership in interviews. As Ava stood in her father's office, sunlight spilling across his photo, she smiled. "We did it, Dad." Then she turned to the camera, her voice calm and proud. "This is what happens when integrity fights back. Tell me, would you have done the same? Where are you watching from? Take care."